Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to AFTERBUZZ TV.
Yeah.
We are here doing Parenthood After Show, Season 6, episode Aaron Brownstien Must Be Stopped. I'm your host, Marisa Serafini. Joining me, I have...
Hey guys, I'm Kellie Knezovich.
Hey y'all, I'm April Whisenhant.
Funny note, I was questioning the title. I was like, who is Aaron Brownstien?
Yeah.
And we find out, it's the kid. And we'll definitely get into it. But here's a little side note for those who may not know. Aaron Brownstien is actually a personal assistant to Jason Katims.
I love that.
For Parenthood. So you had to throw in like an actual name in there.
That's
probably just a
awesome.
shout out. Just so, I thought that was pretty cool.
I
was
do
like,
too.
Great, yeah.
That's clever.
It makes
so.
him even that much cooler.
Yeah. So shout out to Aaron Brownstien.
What's up?
And Must Be Stopped. All right, really quickly, what were your overall thoughts? April, we'll start with you.
Definitely a smidge lighter. It was more serious in different ways. Obviously, the main stuff right now is Joel and Julia, really, and Zeke. So this was still like serious, but it just took it to a different level. It was crazy for me to see Max act the way he did, even though a lot of it was typical Max, but it's just clear that his emotions are really, really strong right now. So I thought it was good for my heart to feel a little lighter at this point.
Definitely not as emotional as I think we're used to seeing. I felt like a lot of the big players weren't in it today. No Zeke, which I think is probably the biggest storyline throughout the entire season. No Joel and Julia.
Team Julia.
Exactly. We didn't see Adam at all. We saw
Or
a lot
Sarah.
Or Sarah. We saw a lot of Christina and
Ruby.
Ruby.
I say that with such disdain.
I know.
Okay, so we'll just start with Crosby and Jasmine, because we see at the beginning of the episode, we know the luncheonette is taking some financial hard hits right now, and they're trying to book any little gig that can bring in any little bit of money.
The
that
cat
was the
commercial.
funniest thing with the cat.
God, that was horrible.
Meow, 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 meow. That's what do you know those cat commercials from a long time ago where they just meowed the entire commercial? Meow Mix. Yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
Where did Meow Mix? But Meow Mix was way better than what they were recording.
Oh, yeah.
For only
sure.
$300 a session.
Damn.
Oh, that's terrible.
I feel like they used to charge like thousands.
Well, they had big names too, though.
Yeah.
They had legit bands.
You can't charge that much for cat food.
Yeah, and also just depends on which recording studio you're using. They are a very smaller startup, so the rates are, I'm sure, completely different from like the big studios that you're used to.
Yeah. Right.
But okay, so we start with Crosby and Jasmine, really. And Jasmine's taking on this file clerk job, which pays $30 an hour. That's pretty good, solid money, actually.
Yeah.
Only because the luncheonette, it's not bringing in the finances it used to. Are we happy that Jasmine has to go back to work and Crosby's kind of not being the one who's bringing home the bacon?
Definitely not happy about it, obviously, but props to her for stepping up when she has to. It is, he does own the business. Obviously, he owns the luncheonette, so it's not, he can't just really go out and get another job in order to support. There would be a process. Let's say if the luncheonette does shut down, which hopefully it won't.
Yeah.
But so I say props to her for kind of stepping up and taking a job where she doesn't necessarily obviously want to do it. But I'm like, what file clerk job pays $30 an hour?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Apparently the one her mom works
Yeah,
at.
I was
know.
gonna say,
I was
there's
like,
probably
well,
a
that's
connection
why she has the job. Okay.
And seeing her mom, I'm like, ooh, trouble's coming, because
Yeah.
Renee only brings trouble with her.
Yay.
Family dinner at that time. Oof.
Yeah.
No bueno. I feel like Crosby is not being very honest with the state that the luncheonette is in right now, and I think Jasmine's the one making decisions like, you know what, I'm not going to talk to you about this. I am for sure going back to work. And Crosby, you don't really have a say. Obviously, I think in a in a marital situation, you should discuss, hey, what do you think about me going back to work? But I just think that Crosby would be so stubborn and so stern and say, no, you need to be home, you need to take care of the kids. Luncheonette is fine, no problem. But I just don't think that conversation would really go down like that.
But the thing is, I think it's already implied that they already had that conversation. A few episodes ago, you can tell that he was resistant and not wanting to tell Jasmine what's really going on and tell him the whole truth. But now it's just to the point where Jasmine's like, hey, I'm going to take this job because we do need it. And really, beggars can't be choosers right now because we are literally in a state where we can't afford to not do anything about it. We have to take action and get money.
But when she told her mom that Crosby's very optimistic about the state of the luncheonette and that it's going to be back up on its feet in no time, do you think that Crosby really does feel that way, or do you think that Crosby's hoping for the best and just he kind of knows that it's going downhill?
Well, I think Crosby knows it's going downhill right now, but again, he kept saying this whole luncheonette is based on a dream. But you have to put hard work into your dream. You're going to have your ups and downs in your career. This is his music career. And it's not just a dream, but it is his job. So and I think, everyone has to go through that financial struggle. And right now, this is just that time he's doing it. But what did you think of Renee kind of like little overstepping? And trying to, I'm sure she had good intentions, especially, it's her daughter that's also being affected too. But do you think Renee was overstepping by suggesting this real estate career?
I think she should have learned her lesson by now. When she interferes in their relationship, it just does not work out, which she's not dealing or interfering directly with their relationship, but it is still, that's like a punch in the gut to him. It is semi-emasculating in the way to have your mother-in-law of all people. It's kind of different when it comes from maybe like your own mom or your family, but it's she's his family obviously, but Renee kind of has a history of overstepping, and she just can't deliver it in the right way. She was trying to be nice about it, but it's just so clear that she's doing it for a reason, and he's definitely not going to be happy with that ever.
Yeah, and we know that Renee and Crosby have never been the best of friends.
Right.
And I feel like Renee comes from more of a judgmental point of view because she's always doing something to kind of undermine Crosby and everything, even in the past when it came to Jabbar and all of Crosby's decisions. So even stuff like that like she's like, okay, this is just another thing that you're not living up to the expectation that I had for you and my daughters. Like, you're not doing your job. So I feel like Renee was coming from that judgmental. It's like, okay, this is just another thing that you can't provide for my daughter.
Right. Yeah. And she doesn't, it's like she's almost speaking to him in a way where it's like dumbing him down, like trying to cover it up, but like so clearly not covering it up. Yeah. And it's just like, how does she think he's going to react to it? Like, obviously she cares about them and is coming from a good place, but she also should know how much the luncheonette means to him. And by her suggesting, oh, why don't you do some real estate on the side? It's clear that she's like, you failed, so let me give you another solution for something that I think will work for you. And it's just too far and not her place.
Yeah, and it's something that Renee wants him to do, not what he wants or what Jasmine wants.
And he does not like being told what to do, especially from his mother-in-law.
I can understand why they bring Renee back. It is the final season, so you're going to be seeing a lot of old characters coming back. But to bring her back for this type of story again, I'm kind of done with her.
Yeah.
Just like,
ditto.
Move on.
You're not, no matter what you're gonna do, Crosby is not gonna change. And I get she keeps suggesting things, but you're gonna get the same result from Crosby.
Exactly.
But I did like how she suggested something totally different from the luncheonette, and then you have Amber come in and say, I did a lot of research, I have a great idea, and it was a positive note for the luncheonette. I thought that was good.
Yeah, what do we think of Amber just being the voice of reason and voice of confidence back into Crosby and be like, yes, this is a dream, but you know what? You go out and pursue your dreams. You do things. We're going to go past 11 p.m. at midnight and hustle this band because we need them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's setting her up for a future at the luncheonette.
Exactly.
I think they're wanting us to see the driven side of her, the person who's like, okay, we have to figure something out because she hasn't been that in the past. She's just kind of been like, well, let's just hope things work out and that something will happen. And so I think they're doing it purposefully so that they can show us that, like, oh, this is something she would be good at. Obviously she had a little hindrance of Braxton Hicks, but not something she can control. But yeah, I like that she was kind of the voice to bring him back up, because Crosby, sometimes it takes a very specific person with each specific situation to bring him back up. Sometimes it's Adam, his dad, his mom, and now we see Amber doing it. So I think,
again, another motherly thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I find it very interesting how Crosby's character this particular season is seeming so down on himself.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past seasons, he's the one that's always bringing someone up. Like, you know, just raising everyone else's spirits. When, say, particular moment when Julia was questioning when Victor was still new into the family, and Julia was questioning if she was a good mother, and Crosby was like, no, you're the best mother ever. So it's just moments like that where I feel like his character is the one that brings everybody's spirits up, and he's the one that's kind of down on his luck.
He's really
kind of depressed.
Yeah, he's really bringing me down right now, or it's really, really harming me to see Crosby like this, because you know I love Crosby, obviously, and it's tough to see him in this position, and I can't imagine, I don't know what's going to get him out of it.
I don't like the direction that they're taking his storyline this season. I feel like it's not Crosby.
I feel like they're setting him up for a big story that we don't know yet.
Oh,
and
God.
that's
I know.
Y'all.
I know. I mean, we'll get to predictions, but I just question why his character has taken such a big dramatic turn this particular season, if it's all for nothing. Because it has to be for something.
We're halfway into the season. That's the thing. It's so hard to develop a story that's so different from a character, but still like turn it around. It's because it's not going to be satisfying for viewers to just have that one episode like he's all better again.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be a turn, and it's like, well, we're more than halfway there. How are you going to do that?
Something is going to happen.
Yeah.
We don't know what. I hope it's not death, because when we're borderline death story with anybody in this, is really up in the air.
I think we've predicted everything at this point.
We'll see. I mean, anyone's fair game right now.
We're like, Renee, it's her.
But we did see throughout all of this, the luncheon problems, Amber having her Braxton Hicks contractions. Turned out it just ended up being Braxton Hicks, which is a very common symptom in your later period of pregnancy. But what do you think of Amber not telling Drew about, you know, when she's going through all this, not calling Drew to go to the hospital? And what do you think of their relationship now? Because Drew's doing econ just to get money for her.
I think she didn't tell him for exactly what she said, because she didn't want to make him feel bad. You know, they had just gotten in this big argument. She knew he had to study. I'm sure she probably would have called him if it turned out to be something serious. But I mean, how could she really sit there and call him after he basically just told her, I'm doing this and something that I don't enjoy to help you.
Yeah.
And so I get her not calling him. I don't know though. I think I don't believe him whenever he told her, or they had their conversation and she said, don't do anything that doesn't make you happy or that you don't truly love. And he said, he promised, they pinky promised, and I kind of don't believe him.
I love how they brought back the pinky promise.
Yeah.
Me too.
I mean, such a, you know, brother-sister moment.
Yeah, where they bring things back.
Yeah, I think it was the episode where both of those two were going to the family dinner and they got high on weed.
Oh,
And they're
yeah.
like, let's not tell anyone, pinky promise. I think that was the last time we saw it.
And then they show up and it's like, what's up, everybody?
Yeah, and everybody
So
knows
clearly
they're
baked.
completely on something.
Yeah.
I liked how they brought that moment back. It was
Yeah.
pretty funny. But also, you know, we know Drew's not really good at math. He's bad at econ, and he kind of gets to the point of bitterness. Like we know he doesn't want that. He's not supposed to be doing econ, obviously. But what do you think of Amber talking to Drew? It's like, no, you know, do it for, you know, pick another major that'll make you happy. Don't do it for me. I'll be fine.
I think it was good that she talked to him about that, because he's obviously trying to pick this major for her, to be able to take care of her, to provide for her. But the fact that she's like, hey, I got this. Bro, you do you. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really good for him to hear, because I think he did take it to heart, because it's coming from Amber, who I think he respects the most, one of the most in the whole family, besides Zeke. Yeah. But, you know, hearing it straight from her mouth saying, I can do this on my own, was good.
I think whatever lady snatches Drew up in the end is going to be a very lucky lady, because the fact that he's willing to do that for his family and to help them out because he knows he needs that, I mean, that shows some good character right there. So whether he ends up with who he's with now or whoever, I think she'll be a lucky lady.
He's a very caring guy, but to the point where he cares too much about other people, he doesn't take care of himself.
Right.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think he's taking care of himself just fine.
Now he is.
Well, okay, but with this whole school situation, I mean, he didn't go with Amber because he did want to provide for her, but he's trying to get his school is his main priority right now. He's trying to focus on school. When Natalie says, come hang out with me, he's like, no, I gotta focus on school. When Zeke says, come hang out, go shooting with me, he says, no, I gotta do school. So I think that he has his head on straight.
I think he does too. The only reason is because but he's doing it because he's trying to help her. So that's what I mean as far as like, he's not like super taking care of himself, because he's doing something that makes him unhappy because he wants to help someone else. So he definitely he's making school the priority and that sort of thing. But it's like, he does need to, what was his major before? Like art history, or what was it gonna be?
Goodness, I forgot. It's always been econ. But hopefully he got some sense knocked into him. Right. It's like, all right, great, I can change my major. So like, don't spend thousands of dollars on something you're gonna regret later.
The worst.
College. But okay, so we had a very serious, emotional kind of storyline with Max. Yeah. Max and Dylan. Max, we see him start at the beginning of the episode asking Christina, how do you ask a girl out? And what do you think of
I thought that was very
Christina's
interesting
advice?
Because he has done so much research on everything from books to the internet. He knows girls inside and out. And the fact that he goes to his mom and doesn't want to go to his dad and asks, how do I ask out a girl? He could have found that information on the internet. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more information than Christina could provide. Although I do think she gave pretty much the best advice.
Yeah, you just
go up
ask.
Yeah, be confident.
I like that he's like, I need the exact protocol. Yeah. What is the protocol to ask a girl out?
He needs to be structured. His life is all about structure.
Exactly. So structured to the point where he's reading all those books, and then I will applaud Max for saying all of his emotions, because that is a very, very hard thing for just, I think, people in general. Right. Not just guys or girls, but just people in general, to display all your emotions and your affections for a particular person. And I think the way he did it was very creative.
I agree.
And very thought out, especially for Max. That's really true to character and how an Asperger's person would portray his emotions.
It's so sad to me though, because it's just clear. I mean, it's clear that she doesn't feel that way about him, but it's clear to us, and he has Asperger's, so it's not clear to him. And to see him go through that and just have everyone watching and people laughing, it's like, even at that school, obviously that's made for, people with different issues and behavioral issues, whatever, they're still gonna tease one another. And I don't know, I definitely applaud him. I could never do that myself, and I could never make a poster and be like, this is why I like you,
in front of everybody.
Right. Yeah. So that takes some guts, and we see him just like growing up, or he's just grown up right before our eyes, especially this season. And I don't know, I just felt so bad for him though.
I did feel bad for him because, he does all that after he sees Dylan making out with Aaron Brownstien.
Oh, what a jerk.
Hence the title of the episode. You know who I thought was the jerk that in that whole situation was
Max?
The friend. The instigator friend who was just sitting there, was like, this is kind of creepy, and then like her side commentary was not needed, which was just making the situation just a step more worse than what it should have been.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. And Dylan didn't do her part. You know, like she doesn't like Max like that, but they are friends. And I feel like she should have been like, shut up, like stop. But clearly she wasn't in the state to do it at that point.
I mean, she did try to stop him, though. It's just
to her friend. I feel like she should have told her friend to stop.
Okay.
Yeah. There was no stopping him.
There was no stopping anyone, really. I mean, because I think she was just so focused on Max, stop. And she probably couldn't process everything happening at once.
Yeah, and the hard thing with Max is that you can't really have him stop because he's the kind of guy who will react, be like, no, I have to say everything, because, again, you said very structured. And he had this whole speech laid out, I'm sure, and he had to say it from beginning to end. But what do we think of Christina during this whole situation and like really just handling Max and her after all that went down and just in the street, how emotional that was. Yeah. And Christina being proud of Max, just that was a very courageous thing to do.
Definitely. I have two halves of this. There's the one half where the end speech, I thought it was great. She, at first I was like, oh, this is kind of cheesy. Obviously, I don't know how old Max is right now. He's in high school, though, we know. But he does need to hear those kinds of things from someone. He does need to hear, like, that's courageous, because he doesn't necessarily know that that's courageous. So at first I was like, oh, kind of cheesy. But then I was like, no, she's amazing. But that's the second half. The first half, I'm like, honey, I know he has Asperger's, and you treat that differently and you punish differently than you do a child who doesn't have it. But like, he shoved a kid and started a fight. Yeah. And there was no punishment.
I think it's hard to be what is she? She's not the principal, the headmaster of the school, and be the mom too, because I think she's having a difficult time. She's kind of, the line is very blurred.
Yes, it's a very thin line between being that the legal role compared to a parental role. Yeah. But I feel that, I think from a parenting aspect, she said everything, right on the head. But for a legal, a headmaster, I don't think she did enough, because that's setting the tone for all the other students. You're going to have kids with behavioral issues. You're going to have to deal with fights or some emotional breakdown, and you're going to have to deal with them. And I don't think she set the tone for the proper way to deal with it. Yes, it's hard. Again, let us know, for all you listeners, what do you think Christina should have done in that situation? I would say you lose your kitchen privileges or something, you know, just from the teacher aspect.
Whenever someone gets into a fight at school, like, that they got in trouble, or like everyone talks about it, they got suspended, whatever, and so everyone's gonna know that nothing happened to him, and maybe they won't take that storyline any farther as far as like him getting in trouble, but I can, just like you said, I can just see some other kid getting into a fight and being like, well, Max didn't get in trouble.
Exactly. But neither did Aaron. What's his name? Aaron Brownstien. He didn't get in trouble
Max started it, though. So it's all about the kid who starts it. Because Max,
they're both in the fight. If you have a fight in school, both people get in trouble regardless of who started it.
Yeah, I guess.
Nothing happened to Aaron.
And nothing. Actually, because, it cuts to commercial, and then we see the second half of that conversation because Aaron was dismissed. So I even wrote in my notes, what happened with Aaron?
That's true.
It's like, what went down in that conversation? I'm sure some chastising, but I think that's just a small detail that, we're just going to unfortunately just overlook. That's really not that important. But I just, we have to question everything.
But then the flyers too, though.
Those flyers, which is...
that's like harassment.
From a different perspective, someone who doesn't have Asperger's, and if you were Aaron Brownstein's perspective, that could be bullying, and I hate to use that word, but
it's a form of it.
Is a serious form of bullying in a way, and that being on the receiving end of someone who's being the antagonistic instigator.
And he doesn't, it's clear that he doesn't get it, but I kind of feel like he does get it in a sense, though. Like, he knows what he's doing, but he's not thinking of it in the sense of like, oh, these people have treated me this way, and I'm treating this boy the same way, because he thinks it's justified in his mind. And the fact that, obviously he's going to be mad, all of us would be mad, but the fact that Aaron Brownstien is kissing Dylan, who Dylan clearly wanted to kiss him, it's kind of her fault too. you know, that doesn't constitute creating a hateful flyer and punching him.
What do we think of Dylan? Because she's the sad one in the midst of all of this,
I'm like,
stuck in the middle.
No, kidding.
But do you think she handled that situation correct? Like, just yelling out, "I'm never gonna love you that way."
Well, Max, he cannot be stopped. He can't. Like, she tried to stop him, and he was just going for it, yelling and screaming, and you know, he wasn't listening to anyone, anything. And so I think the fact that she had to put it to a stop really quickly and say something that he didn't want to hear, but at least it's the truth. So I mean, props to her for. Maybe she didn't go about it in the best way, but she did explain how she was feeling.
Not in the best way. I mean, it's hard because Max does have Asperger's. He doesn't really register that those emotions, and he's not, you know, it's that sensitive line because even Dylan's more aware of that. But she doesn't know how to convey her feelings back. And the fact that she really doesn't have feelings for Max, she's aware of that, but Max isn't.
Right. And I think I completely agree with you. She definitely, Max, people have to be completely straightforward with him in order to get their real point across. And she wasn't being straightforward with him. And in order to get him to stop, she had to. Obviously, it could have been done a lot better in a different context. But maybe, you know, it kind of took him feeling that, like, pain and being, because I can imagine like them being at his house or just the two of them.
When she came over to talk to Christina,
right?
Yeah, like Max that way.
I feel like if she told him that in that context, he would still not take it very seriously, or he would think that he could still change her mind.
Yeah, he wouldn't take it the right way.
Right. So it's obviously, I don't think it was exactly the right way, but it's like, I don't really know what would be the right way.
I think he understood when she said it that way. I think he got it. Whereas I think had she said something when she was at his house talking to Christina, I don't think he would have gotten it then.
Yeah.
Right.
But I will give it to Christina too, how she handled every situation the best to her ability, and even back on the street, and you know, because that's where the story kind of ends, just saying eventually down the road you will feel all these feelings again, but it's going to be for the right person who will feel all those same feelings for you back. And I think that's the best way to say it.
Yeah,
I think it is too. I just don't think he heard it. I really think that it went in through one ear and out the other, just because he's so emotional at this point, and he's so focused on what just happened that he can't really hear anything or think of anything or think about the future. He's just heartbroken right now.
Which every kid, I feel like, would be that way.
Yeah.
I would never forget. I got broken up with over an answering machine, y'all, one time.
Oh my God.
I was in like the third grade, I think, and we were on our way home, and my mom...
Third grade?
Maybe. I mean, obviously it was like very, very young.
Goodness.
Okay, obviously it was very young, but
Precocious.
so it wasn't like a real thing. No, I guess maybe like fifth grade. Either way, so we're on our way home, and my mom calls our answering machine to check the messages, and she's like, April, and my boyfriend had his friend break up with me on the answering machine.
It wasn't even your boyfriend, it was his friend.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I feel like it's something that kids, you know, my mom said the same thing, like, you'll find someone, yeah, and I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
But I kind of, you know, the little girl that they showed Max, like, she gave Max a book or something like that. I was like, oh, she's kind of flirty with Max.
Yeah, she was very nice to him.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, hopefully, I mean, but it's good for Max that he's having this type of real kind of just anyone who's in that first relationship, what do you do? How's it gonna go? How's it gonna end? And unfortunately, he had his first hardship. But that's just the growing pains of, you know, just growing up.
At least he had it.
Yeah, at least he had it. And I will give it to Parenthood because anyone can relate to any kind of story, whether you have Asperger's or not. People know what the hardship of, hey, are you my girlfriend? Are you my boyfriend? Whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So, good on Max to having this story. I think, do we think that's the end of Dylan?
I think so.
Yeah.
I can imagine her appearing in a few episodes, but not. I think that's going to be the end of them, like, relationship feeling wise.
I feel like that story has come to a complete full stop.
Yeah.
And done, moving on.
Close that chapter.
Yeah, close that chapter. But Okay, but another chapter that's still kind of going on, Ruby. I mean, okay, I love the show. You all know. But I'm really tired of seeing Ruby.
Yeah.
Honestly, because we're seeing Ruby more so than our main characters.
Yeah.
And I'm like...
And I'm not okay with that, especially with our last season.
Yeah. And she's just such a brat.
Yeah.
She's such a teenager.
She's definitely such a teenager. Obviously not every teen, but you know, it happens very often where your parents go out of town and you have people over and you lie to your parents. But she's just so awful about it. And I mean, I think we've all been there, like yelling at your parents when you're getting in trouble. I mean, it's a part of life, but I just like the chick is not going to learn her lesson. And she had a good little moment with Hank at the end, but I don't know. She's just she's a good liar too. She's like, I promise, I swear, no, I'm not inviting.
Did you really
anyone
believe
over.
her though?
I didn't.
When
but
Sandy and Hank were like, "No, you're lying. You're gonna have a whole party." Did we think she was being genuine at that particular moment?
No.
But only because I'm like, I can clearly see where this is going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I just feel like they're building Hank's character up. They're giving him it's great character growth, but I'm whatever about it. I mean, Hank is great and I like seeing him, but I just don't like Ruby, and I just don't think I'd prefer to see Sarah or see Adam, just, you know, one of the Bravermans actually grow in another area.
But that's also the thing too. I mean, I can understand. I love how they are building Hank's story because he is that father who needs to be a father. He hasn't really done that. But if you think about it, he's one of the only parents that has a teenager, because Sarah and Sarah's kids, you know, Drew and Amber, they're grown up. We have Max, and we're seeing his story, but even Sydney and Victor, they're still too young right now. So
Right.
Hank's the only person that has a real teenager that can have those teenager problems that Parenthood is showing.
But Sydney started to have those issues too that we saw, and
she's
we
in
didn't.
like the fourth grade
didn't
though.
like.
Or I don't know how old she is.
Yeah.
She's in fourth grade having teenager problems.
Yeah, I'm super over it. And how Ruby reacted when she came back in the house at the end when Sandy dropped her off and she's like, "All right, Dad, you know, I can't do anything in my room, so what are we gonna do today?" I'm sorry.
Read a book.
No child would do, or no
Goodness.
teenager would do that.
No, I would have been straight in my room,
Exactly.
laying in my
Even
bed
if you
and doing
have
nothing.
no internet, no, you can't go online, if you can't do anything on your phone, you would still be so mad. You wouldn't be like, "All right, Dad, let's hang out today." No, you would go straight up to your room.
Yeah, that part was a little unrealistic for sure. But I
Absolutely.
also,
I
as much as I am over Ruby, I do like that they showed something that, like, that situation is very real. And Parenthood obviously is about showing like things that really happen, and I feel like they depicted it in an exact way that it really would have happened. Like, there's a keg in the bathtub, and I
There
love
were
he
two
said,
kegs at that party.
Marijuana paraphernalia.
He was so concerned about that.
That's
Yeah.
how Hank would say, "There's weed, there's bongs." No, there's marijuana paraphernalia.
Exactly.
But I it's just, the thing is, I'm really tired of Ruby and it's this type of storyline. We've seen it in so many movies and so many other television shows, and I felt like we did not need to see this in this
Yeah.
episode. I mean,
Right.
granted, I love Parenthood, but I felt like they wasted our time with this with
I
the storyline.
totally agree.
Yeah, I agree.
We
Great
could have
point.
seen Team Julia. We could have seen Zeke and Camille with a more interesting story than someone we already don't care about.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry, I'm just really frustrated with
Yeah.
Ruby.
She should be done for.
Yeah,
should
but
just end the
I think
storyline there.
we had this typical party storyline, and then to end it with Hank having another father-daughter moment, because that's really the end game, that Hank needs to go through those parental problems, having his daughter say, "I hate you," but in the end, you know that, you know, father and daughter, you really do love each other.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was the only payoff.
Yeah. I just think they're setting
Wasn't
that thing
enough.
up for a whole other storyline, but we'll obviously get there in predictions.
All right, but okay. So anything else?
That's
That-
it.
Yeah.
Can't wait for next week.
Oh, I don't even want to talk about it.
So much. Okay. All right, so let's get to some news and gossip.
That was like, close line.
All right, so
Tell us.
Yes, I went to the Parenthood 100th episode celebration, and it was freaking phenomenal.
I'm so
say
jealous.
that. I still can't wrap my head around it because it was just so freaking cool. So I went to Universal Studios last week, and went to the cake celebration, and a lot of people were there. The whole cast was there, surprisingly so.
Was Ruby there?
No, actually, she was not.
Good.
But Hattie
Mr.
wasn't
Jeffries? Or I don't know why I call him Mr. Jeffries. Chris Jeffries.
No, he wasn't. But it's like the main core
Okay.
characters that even Lauren Graham was there, Dax Shepard, all of them were there. Ron Howard was also there.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, I mean he created Parenthood. So
Right.
but to have someone as big as Ron
As
Howard, he
him
was
there,
there,
yeah.
had a speech. We had Jason Katims and Brian Grazer. They were there, just talking about what Parenthood has done for everybody in the last 6 years. Everyone has become a family. And then he also made a joke that, this is the first time you'll see the Parenthood writers eat gluten. eating cake, which was just really fun.
Awesome.
And then, of course, I had to interview them.
Obviously.
I met a lot of them.
And your interviews were so good.
Thank you. So they were really fun. So we actually did have fun photos. This is just me and Bonnie Bedelia and Craig T. Nelson.
Look how cute you are.
Yeah, they were really fun. And, I asked them, because we know Zeke's favorite sport is baseball, what's Craig's favorite sport? And he says he's a golfer.
I can see that.
Yeah. And then Bonnie Bedelia, she's an actual artist too, and she paints. And that's why they made Camille a painter in the show.
Take that trip, yeah.
And then I'm like, well, will we get to see any of your work in the show? There's enough time to display. And she's like, maybe. We'll see.
cool.
You know what's so weird is, were they like shooting this day?
No.
Or was it just because they are both like, he's dressed like Zeke and she's dressed like Camille? And is this? I'm guessing this is how they dress themselves, probably.
Maybe.
Or a stylist.
I don't know.
obviously,
I
but-
don't think with such a big celebration of that day they were filming anything.
Right.
I'm pretty
True.
sure.
I just like that they're.
If anything,
dress
they
like their
probably
characters.
did a read through that day rather than actual filming. And then our next photo, we have myself and Team Julia.
My babies.
Erika Christensen and Sam Jaeger. They were really fun to talk to. Really good interview. We'll actually get to see a little bit of that. But I talked to them. What was the best advice that they gave Sholo, who plays Victor, and Savannah, who plays Sydney, as being the parental roles and then the parental actors, I guess you can say. And they said, being self-confident. It's like you always have to keep your self-confidence up, especially at such a young age. That can really bring you down.
Right.
So just keep your self-confidence and
Great
you'll
advice.
be good. And then also they said when they first started filming Parenthood that Savannah, she was so young. She was, I believe, 4 at the
she
time.
was
Wow.
tiny.
That the way that they had to rehearse with her, because she was too young to read, so you would have to say all the lines out loud and she would have to repeat it, and that's how she learned her lines.
Oh, I
my
love that.
But now,
gosh.
because she's older, that she's actually really good at improv. Savannah is.
Oh.
And she
I
has
bet she learned that on the show.
a bunch of one-liners that even Erika and Sam were like really surprised for such a young kid being so
Wow.
That's
improvisational.
great.
Yeah. Then the next photo, we have me and the kids.
I love it.
Yeah,
Little
Sholo,
Jabbar.
Tyree, and Savannah. I actually got to speak to them for a long time. Only about a 10-minute interview. That's like unheard of on the red
Yeah.
carpet.
Yeah.
But they talked about one of their favorite moments from the first day on set. And it was really fun. I mean, we talked for a good amount of times, but they said, just meeting Dax for the first time was really fun, and hanging out in trailers.
Aw.
And like being surprised by the craft services.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
all this food. And then also I asked them, because they are so young, they have the whole careers ahead of them, what would they like to portray in the future as actors? And Tyree said he'd like to go into action, like action films. and stuff.
That's
I could see
awesome.
that for
Yeah,
sure.
I could too.
Yeah, so moving on to our next one. I believe we have one more. And then me, Monica Potter and Max Burkholder. Of course, yes, Monica Potter did high-five
That
me.
is amazing.
I was like, yes, I gotta get this. This is amazing. It was all on camera. So I talked to them about, they talked about how they first met. And they were up in San Francisco. actually talking to an Asperger's a doctor who specializes in Asperger's, and their first meeting was Max was just constantly hitting Monica. And Monica was just like not having it. And she's like, oh no, hell no. But then she's like, this is what parents would have to deal with someone who has Asperger's. So it's something to get used to.
Right.
And that really just set the tone for how they portrayed their relationship from the mother-son perspective. And I thought that was fascinating.
That is.
They were so cool. And I got to high-five Monica Potter.
That's amazing.
I mean... And I don't know if you noticed in those photos, I was repping our sister network, Black Hollywood Live.
Yes.
So definitely check out those, because we also had Joy Bryant. We had her interview. She came to us first, because she was like, oh, I'm coming to you first. So she was really cool. She was talking about her fashion line and whatnot. Very cool. But also, I do have a short interview with Erika and Sam. Hopefully we'll see a little bit of this. Here we go. Hey everyone, I'm Marisa Serafini. We are here with Sam Yeager and Erika Christensen, who plays Joel and Julia. Team Julia. Team Julia. I'm so excited for this season. Congratulations on 100.
Thank you. It snuck up on us, that's for sure.
It's kind of surreal to be here.
For sure. Are you guys happy with how they've been playing out the Team Julia storyline this season?
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that we have had so much time to let it play out in kind of in real time, and not rush things has been really interesting. We have now, recently gotten to the point where we feel like we get a grasp on the fact that both of them are very justified in the way that they feel, and we really have high hopes for them getting back together.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
I'm dying.
Yeah.
About
they were amazing.
The way Jason Katims created this storyline is that I was so thankful it wasn't wrapped up neatly in one season, because problems like this, in real life, take a long time, and there's a lot of gray area where we're in different intervals. Both Joel and Julia have made major missteps, just like we do in real life, and it's been fun to watch them try and mend the wounds.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really fun interview, and you can definitely check out all the interviews on Black Hollywood Live. Then we also had, of course, AfterBuzz TV was there too.
Yeah.
You can check out the Lauren Graham interview on AfterBuzz TV channel. Unfortunately, I did not get to meet Lauren Graham. Sad day. But she did walk right in front of me, and I'm just I am a big Lauren Graham fan. I'm not gonna
no
feel
need to
bad
apologize
about
for that. Yeah.
But she went to every other outlet but mine, because she started later in the line, and then went back to the beginning, and then stopped right before me.
No.
It's like, no, Lauren, come back. it was one of those moments, but it was very, very cool.
That's
just
awesome.
Being there in that environment.
Yeah.
And then also, I did get to take just a quick walk through the Christina Adam house, because it was filmed right outside. The whole event was right outside the soundstage of the house. So I didn't get to take any photos and videos of that, but being in the house, so cool. I mean,
Was it?
so detailed. The pots and pans, the little sticky notes on the bulletin boards, everything is so real and authentic, and it feels like an actual real house.
That's so
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, it was very, very neat, and it was such a fun experience.
I'm so glad you got to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll be there they'll have a finale rap party.
Maybe. I would crash that.
I know, right?
Crash that. Really fun experience, and I'm glad I got to show it with you ladies and everybody else who's listening and watching. It was great, especially for the farewell season.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
amazing.
All right, let's go to predictions.
Woo.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV prediction.
What a preview.
Oh, the worst.
The worst. Absolutely worst.
We're all like slouching in our chairs, kind of like this, watching it, or watching the end of the episode, and then we're like,
what?
Immediately, like, sit up.
Chills, tears. I mean, tears didn't fall, but
They were
got
there.
pretty teary. Yep.
Bieber worked up at the end of that 30-second preview. Okay, so we see Mark Sarah come back.
I like it.
They're questioning whether Sarah should have ended up with Mark. Do you think Sarah should have ended up with Mark?
Y'all know, I think that's what they're setting it up for. I think they're setting it up for a little Sandy Hank action, and Mr. Sear's coming back for a reason.
I think they are too. I just feel like there might not be enough episodes left in the season or the series to have Sarah and Mr. Sear rekindle their romance.
Oh,
Good
you know
point,
what?
for sure.
I think Mark's the kind of person, because we did see back then, Mark's like, I'm going to fight for you when he was fighting against Hank. Mark is still that kind of person. He's going to say, I broke up with my fiance. I want you back.
And then she
I
said,
support
okay.
this.
And make out session go.
Yes.
Okay. Team Julia, are they going to get divorced?
April, you first.
She was, it killed me because why is she being so mean to him?
Oh.
She's like, sign the papers. No, they can't get divorced. I don't think it will happen.
You know, I think they're going to wait till the last episode, and then they're going to get together, and it's just, we're going to wait for, how many more episodes are there? 5, 6,
something like
seven?
that.
Yeah, I
And
believe
we're
it's
going to
5 more.
wait, and then it's just like, that's going to be the last one, the last episode. We're going to see them, and then we're going to find out whoever dies. Somebody's going to die in the last episode.
Well, that's going to be the twist of it all. Nobody dies.
Nobody's going to die.
Right?
They're like, you thought there was death. It's like death
mean.
of relationships
Joke's on
and that sort of
you.
thing. Yeah.
Right. How mean and how teasing would that be for Parenthood?
But I'd be so happy.
I would be happy. I mean, I wouldn't like argue that, but
Yeah.
you see Zeke's having problems. Do you think he's gonna have another heart attack?
For sure. I think something is going to happen where he has to go to the hospital again, and the whole family's going to come back together. And that's when we're going to see everyone in the episode, because we always miss someone. We miss a couple people in every episode.
It's
And
such
so,
a huge ensemble.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Parenthood was actually the storyline was actually supposed to take place in Philadelphia, but because they have such a big ensemble, they couldn't budget that. And they couldn't put. They didn't have the finances to travel and to commute everybody.
Right.
So they set it in Berkeley.
Oh,
like
I
it.
love
Which
it.
is very, very interesting little factoid for you.
Yeah.
But
Thank you.
with Zeke, I mean, we already saw him have a mini heart attack. And once you have one, you're prone to your chances of getting another one are so much higher than one who hasn't. It should be interesting. I'm gonna say it. I still think Zeke's gonna die.
Yeah.
Okay, goodness. All right.
Our heart
So
can't
much,
take it.
so much. I can't. Next week is gonna be crazy emotional. April, where can everyone follow you?
Y'all can find me on Twitter and Instagram at April Whisenhant.
and you guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Kellie Knez.
And you can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Serafini TV. You can follow all of us here at AfterBuzz TV on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Definitely check out all those fun interviews on AfterBuzz TV and BlackHollywoodLive.com. Check out their YouTube channel as well. They're pretty awesome. And really fun after show.
Yes,
We will see
as
you
always.
next week.
For the craziness.
I know.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.